Section 17 of The Dream of the Red Chamber, Book 1. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Elizabeth Buchanan. The Dream of the Red Chamber, Book 1, by Cao Xueqin. Translated by Henry Bencraft Joly. Chapter 7, Part 2. When the lamps were lit, lady Feng came over, after having disrobed herself, to see madame Wang. "I've already taken charge," she observed, "of the things sent round today by the Chen family. As for the presents from us to them, we should avail ourselves of the return of the boats, by which the fresh delicacies for the new year were forwarded, to hand them to them to carry back." Madame Wang nodded her head in token of approval. "The birthday presents," continued lady Feng, "for lady Ling Nang, the mother of the Earl of Ling Nang, have already been got together; and whom will you depute to take them over?" "See," suggested madame Wang, "who has nothing to do. Let 4 maids go, and all will be right. Why come again and ask me?" "Our eldest sister-in-law, Chen," proceeded lady Feng, "came over to invite me to go to morrow to their place for a little change. I don't think there'll be anything for me to do to morrow." "Whether there be or not," replied madame Wang, "it doesn't matter. You must go, for whenever she comes with an invitation, it includes us who are your seniors; so that, of course, it isn't such a pleasant thing for you; but as she doesn't ask us this time, but only asks you, it's evident that she's anxious that you shall have a little distraction, and you mustn't disappoint her good intention. Besides, it's certainly right that you should go over for a change." Lady Feng assented, and presently Li Wan, Ying Ch'un and the other cousins likewise paid each her evening salutations, and retired to their respective rooms, where nothing of any notice transpired. The next day, lady Feng completed her toilet, and came over first to tell madame Wang that she was off, and then went to say good bye to dowager lady Chia. But when Pao-yü heard where she was going, he also wished to go; and as lady Feng had no help but to give in, and to wait until he had changed his clothes, the sister and brother-in-law got into a carriage, and in a short while entered the Ning mansion. Mrs. Yu, the wife of Chia Chen, and Mrs. Ch'in, the wife of Mr. Chia Jung, the 2 sisters-in-law, had, along with a number of maids, waiting girls and other servants, come as far as the ceremonial gate to receive them; and Mrs. Yu, upon meeting lady Feng, for a while indulged, as was her wont, in humorous remarks; after which, leading Pao-yü by the hand, they entered the drawing room and took their seats. Mrs. Ch'in handed tea round. "What have you people invited me to come here for?" promptly asked lady Feng. "If you have anything to present me with, hand it to me at once, for I've other things to attend to." Mrs. Yu and Mrs. Ch'in had barely any time to exchange further remarks, when several matrons interposed smilingly. "Had our lady not come to day, there would have been no help for it; but having come, you can't have it all your own way." While they were conversing about one thing and another, they caught sight of Chia Jung come in to pay his respects, which prompted Pao-yü to inquire: "Isn't my elder brother at home to day?" "He's gone out of town to day," replied Mrs. Yu, "to inquire after his grandfather. You'll find sitting here," she continued, "very dull; and why not go out and have a stroll?" "A strange coincidence has taken place to day," urged Mrs. Ch'in with a smile. "Some time back you, uncle Pao, expressed a wish to see my brother, and to day he too happens to be here at home. I think he's in the library; but why not go and see for yourself, uncle Pao?" Pao-yü descended at once from the stove couch, and was about to go, when Mrs. Yu bade the servants to mind and go with him. "Don't you let him get into trouble," she enjoined. "It's a far different thing when he comes over under the charge of his grandmother, when he's all right." "If that be so," remarked lady Feng, "why not ask the young gentleman to come in, and then I too can see him? There isn't, I hope, "Any objection to my seeing him?"
"Never mind, never mind," observed Mrs. Yu smilingly; "it's as well that you shouldn't see him. This brother of mine is not like the boys of our Chia family, accustomed to roughly banging and knocking about. Other people's children are brought up politely and properly, and not in this vixenish style of yours. Why, you'd ridicule him to death!"
"I won't laugh at him then, that's all," smiled lady Feng. "Tell them to bring him in at once." "He's shy," proceeded Mrs. Ch'in, "and has seen nothing much of the world, so that you're sure to be put out when you see him, sister." "What an idea!" exclaimed lady Feng. "Were he even no cha himself, I'd like to see him; so don't talk trash. If, after all, you don't bring him round at once, I'll give you a good slap on the mouth." "I daren't be obstinate," answered Mrs. Ch'in smiling; "I'll bring him round." In a short while, she did in fact lead in a young lad, who, compared with Pao-yü, was somewhat more slight, but, from all appearances, superior to Pao-yü in eyes and eyebrows, good looks, which were so clear and well defined, in white complexion and in ruddy lips, as well as graceful appearance and pleasing manners. He was, however, bashful and timid, like a girl. In a shy and demure way, he made a bow to lady Feng and asked after her health. Lady Feng was simply delighted with him. "You take a low seat next to him," she ventured laughingly, as she pushed Pao-yü back. Then, readily stooping forward, she took this lad by the hand and asked him to take a seat next to her. Presently she inquired about his age, his studies and such matters, when she found that at school he went under the name of Ch'in Chung. The matrons and maids in attendance on lady Feng, perceiving this was the first time their mistress met Ch'in Chung, and knowing that she had not at hand the usual presents, forthwith ran over to the other side and told P'ing Erh about it. P'ing Erh, aware of the close intimacy that existed between lady Feng and Mrs. Ch'in, speedily took upon herself to decide, and selecting a piece of silk and two small gold medals, bearing the wish that he should attain the highest degree, the senior wranglership, she handed them to the servants who had come over to take away. Lady Feng, however, explained that her presents were too mean by far, but Mrs. Ch'in and the others expressed their appreciation of them, and in a short time the repast was over, and Mrs. Yu, lady Feng and Mrs. Ch'in played at dominoes; but of this no details need be given, while both Pao-yü and Ch'in Chung sat down, got up and talked as they pleased. Since he had first glanced at Ch'in Chung and seen what kind of person he was, he felt at heart as if he had lost something; and after being plunged in a dazed state for a time, he began again to give way to foolish thoughts in his mind. "There are then such beings as he in the world!" he reflected. "I now see there are! I'm, however, no better than a wallowing pig or a mangy cow. Despicable destiny! Why was I ever born in this household of a marquis and in the mansion of a duke? Had I seen the light in the home of some penniless scholar or poverty-stricken official, I could long ago have enjoyed the communion of his friendship, and I would not have lived my whole existence in vain. Though more honourable than he, it is evident that silk and satins only serve to swathe this rotten trunk of mine, and choice wines and rich meats only to gorge this filthy drain and miry sewer of this body of mine. Wealth and splendour, ye are no more than contaminated with pollution by me." Ever since Ch'in Chung had noticed Pao-yü's unusual appearance, his sedate deportment, and what is more, his hat ornamented with gold and his dress full of embroidery, attended by beautiful maids and handsome youths, he did not indeed think it a matter of surprise that every one was fond of him. "Born as I have had the misfortune to be," he went on to commune within himself, "in an honest though poor family, how can I presume to enjoy his companionship? This is verily a proof of what a barrier poverty and wealth set between man and man. What a serious misfortune is this too, in this mortal world!" In wild and inane ideas of the same strain indulged these two youths. Pao-yü, by and by, further asked of him what books he was reading, and Ch'in Chung, in answer to these inquiries, told him the truth. A few more questions and answers followed, and after about 10 remarks, a greater intimacy sprang up between them. Tea and fruits were shortly served, and while they were having their tea, Pao-yü suggested: "We too don't take any wine, and why shouldn't we have our fruit served on the small couch inside, and go and sit there, and thus save you all the trouble?" The two of them thereupon came into the inner apartment to have their tea, and Mrs. Ch'in attended to the laying out of fruit and wines for lady Feng, and hurriedly entered the room and hinted to Pao-yü: "Dear uncle Pao, your nephew is young, and should he happen to say anything disrespectful, do please overlook it for my sake; for though he's shy, he's naturally of a perverse and wilful disposition, and is rather given to having his own way." "Off with you!" cried Pao-yü laughing; "I know it all." Mrs. Ch'in then went on to give a bit of advice to her brother, and at length came to keep lady Feng company. Presently lady Feng and Mrs. Yu sent another servant to tell Pao-yü that there was outside everything they might wish to eat, and that they should mind and go ask for it; and Pao-yü simply signified that they would, but his mind was not set upon drinking or eating; all he did was to keep making inquiries of Ch'in Chung about recent family concerns. Ch'in Chung went on to explain that his tutor had last year relinquished his post, that his father was advanced in years and afflicted with disease, and had multifarious public duties to preoccupy his mind, so that he had as yet had no time to make arrangements for another tutor, and that all he did was no more than to keep up his old tasks; that as regards study, it was likewise necessary to have the company of one or two intimate friends, as then only, by dint of a frequent exchange of ideas and opinions, one could arrive at progress; and Pao-yü gave him no time to complete, but eagerly urged: "Quite so! But in our household we have a family school, and those of our kindred who have no means sufficient to engage the services of a tutor, are at liberty to come over for the sake of study; and the sons and brothers of our relatives are likewise free to join the class. As my own tutor went home last year, I am now also wasting my time doing nothing; for my father's intention was that I too should have gone over to this school, so that I might at least temporarily keep up what I have already read, pending the arrival of my tutor next year, when I could again very well resume my studies at home; but my grandmother raised objections, maintaining first of all that the boys who attend the family classes being so numerous, she feared we would be sure to be up to mischief, which wouldn't be at all proper; and that in the second place, as I have been ill for some time, the matter should be dropped for the present. But as, from what you say, your worthy father is very much exercised on this score, you should, on your return, tell him all about it and come over to our school. I'll also be there as your schoolmate, and as you and I will reap mutual benefit from each other's companionship, won't it be nice?" When my father was at home the other day, Ch'in Chung smiled and said: "He alluded to the question of a tutor, and explained that the free schools were an excellent institution. He even meant to have come and talked matters over with his son in law's father about my introduction; but with the urgent concerns here, he didn't think it right for him to come about this small thing and make any trouble. But if you really believe that I might be of use to you, in either grinding the ink or washing the slab, why shouldn't you at once make the needful arrangements, so that neither you nor I may idle our time? And as we shall be able to come together often and talk matters over, and set at the same time our parents' minds at ease, and to enjoy the pleasure of friendship, won't it be a profitable thing?" "Compose your mind," suggested Pao-yü. "We can by and by, first of all, tell your brother in law, and your sister as well, sister in law Secunda Lien; and on your return home to day, lose no time in explaining all to your worthy father; and when I get back, I'll speak to my grandmother, and I can't see why our wishes shouldn't speedily be accomplished." By the time they had arrived at this conclusion, the day was far advanced, and the lights were about to be lit, and they came out and watched them once more for a time, as they played at dominoes. When they came to settle their accounts, Mrs. Ch'in and Mrs. Yu were again the losers, and had to bear the expense of a theatrical and dinner party; and while deciding that they should enjoy this treat the day after the morrow, they also had the evening repast. Darkness having set in, Mrs. Yu gave orders that two youths should accompany Mrs. Ch'in home. The matrons went out to deliver the direction, and after a somewhat long interval, Ch'in Chung said good bye and was about to start on his way. "Whom have you told off to escort him?" asked Mrs. Yu. "Chiao Ta," replied the matrons, "has been told to go, but it happens that he's under the effects of drink and making free use again of abusive language." Mrs. Yu and Mrs. Ch'in remonstrated.
"What's the use," they said, "of asking him? That mean fellow shouldn't be chosen; but you will go again and provoke him." "People always maintain," added lady Feng, "that you are far too lenient; but fancy allowing servants in this household to go on in this way! Why, what will be the end of it?" "You don't mean to tell me," observed Mrs. Yu, "that you don't know of this Chiao Ta? Why, even the gentlemen one and all pay no heed to his doings! Your eldest brother, Chia Cheng, he too doesn't notice him! It's all because when he was young he followed our ancestor in 3 or 4 wars, and because on one occasion, by extracting our senior from the heap of slain and carrying him on his back, he saved his life. He himself suffered hunger and stole food for his master to eat. They had no water for 2 days, and when he did get half a bowl, he gave it to his master, while he himself had sewage water. He now simply presumes upon the sentimental obligations imposed by these services. When the seniors of the family still lived, they all looked upon him with exceptional regard; but who at present ventures to interfere with him? He is also advanced in years, and doesn't care about any decent manners. His sole delight is wine, and when he gets drunk, there isn't a single person whom he won't abuse. I've again and again told the stewards not to henceforth ask Chiao Ta to do any work whatever, but to treat him as dead and gone; and here he's sent again to day." "How can I not know all about this Chiao Ta?" remarked lady Feng. "But the secret of all this trouble is that you won't take any decisive step. Why not pack him off to some distant farm and have done with him? And as she spoke, is our carriage ready?" she went on to inquire. "All ready and waiting," interposed the married women. Lady Feng also got up and said good bye, and hand in hand with Pao-yü, they walked out of the room, escorted by Mrs. Yu and the party, as far as the entrance of the main hall, where they saw the lamps shedding a brilliant light, and the attendants all waiting on the platforms. Chiao Ta, however, availing himself of Chia Chen's absence from home, and elated by wine, began to abuse the head steward, Lai Erh, for his injustice. "You bully of the weak and coward with the strong," he cried, "when there's any pleasant charge, you send the other servants; but when it's a question of seeing any one home in the dark, then you ask me, you disorderly clown! And a nice way you act the steward indeed! Do you forget that if Mr. Chiao Ta chose to raise one leg, it would be a good deal higher than your head? Remember, please, that 20 years ago, Mr. Chiao Ta wouldn't even so much as look at any one, no matter who it was, not to mention a pack of hybrid creatures like yourselves." While he went on cursing and railing with all his might, Chia Jung appeared, walking by lady Feng's carriage. All the servants having tried to hush him and not succeeding, Chia Jung became exasperated, and forthwith blew him up for a time. "Let some one bind him," he cried, "and to morrow, when he's over the wine, I'll call him to task, and we'll see if he won't seek death." Chiao Ta showed no consideration for Chia Jung. On the contrary, he shouted with more vigour. Going up to Chia Jung, "Brother Hung," he said, "don't put on the airs of a master with Chiao Ta! Not to speak of a man such as you, why, even your father and grandfather wouldn't presume to display such side with Chiao Ta! Were it not for Chiao Ta, and him alone, where would your office, honours, riches and dignity be? Your ancestor, whom I brought back from the jaws of death, heaped up all this estate, but to this very day have I received no thanks for the services I rendered. On the contrary, you come here and play the master! Don't say a word more, and things may come right; but if you do, I'll plunge the blade of a knife white in you and extract it red." Lady Feng, from inside the carriage, remarked to Chia Jung, "Don't you yet pack off this insolent fellow? Why, if you keep him in your house, won't he be a source of mischief? Besides, we're relatives and friends to hear about these things.
Won't they have a laugh at our expense, that a household like ours should be devoid of all propriety?" Chia Jung assented. The whole band of servants, finding that Chiao Ta was getting too insolent, had no help but to come up and throw him over, and binding him, they dragged him towards the stables. Chiao Ta abused even Chia Chen with still more vehemence, and shouted in a boisterous manner: "I want to go," he cried, "to the family ancestral temple and mourn my old master! Who would have ever imagined that he would leave behind such vile creatures of descendants as you all! Day after day, indulging in obscene and incestuous practices, in scraping of the ashes, and in philandering with brothers-in-law! I know all about your doings! The best thing is to hide one's stump of an arm in one's sleeve. Wash one's dirty clothes at home." The servants, who stood by, upon hearing this wild talk, were quite at their wits' end, and they at once seized him, tied him up, and filled his mouth to the fullest extent with mud, mixed with some horse refuse. Lady Feng and Chia Jung heard all he said from a distance, but pretended not to hear; but Pao-yü, seated in the carriage as he was, also caught this extravagant talk, and inquired of lady Feng: "Sister, did you hear him say something about scraping of the ashes? What's it?" "Don't talk such rubbish!" hastily shouted lady Feng. "It was the maudlin talk of a drunkard. A nice boy you are, not to speak of your listening, but you must also inquire. Wait and I'll tell your mother, and we'll see if she doesn't seriously take you to task." Pao-yü was in such a state of fright that he speedily entreated her to forgive him. "My dear sister," he craved, "I won't venture again to say anything of the kind." "My dear brother, if that be so, it's all right," rejoined lady Feng reassuringly. "On our return, we'll speak to her venerable ladyship, and ask her to send some one to arrange matters in the family school, and invite Ch'in Chung to come to school for his studies." While this conversation was going on, they arrived at the Jung mansion. Reader, do you wish to know what follows? If you do, the next chapter will unfold it. End of section 17.